What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to another episode of From the Hat, where we are talking by choice, chosen by random. Today, I have one of my buddies, friends I've known for a very long time now. I can't believe it's 2024, and I've known this guy for almost 8 years. Mr. Teddy, what is going on, Mr. Gibbons? You tell me. Yeah, hey, live long and prosper.
That needs to come back. That's a good one. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. You've always been somebody that I feel is intellectual, but not just on a textbook level, but more of like an explore the world and dig deeper. And you're a musician, so I feel got that in common,
Yeah.
But with that, I was like, who'd be really good to have a conversation about a random topic? Teddy.
Well, I feel honored, and I promise to you and everyone out there, I will do my best to have zero filter upon myself.
That's fine. That's fine. And again, by the way, if you freeze, we'll just blame it on technology. Okay. So
I used to actually do that to my music students a lot of times. I would just be talking, and then in the mid,
just free.
and I watch them like start fumbling around. Yeah.
Mr. Teacher. All right. As you may know, audience, we have a hat. I have some balls, and I put my hand in it. I play around in the hole, and Teddy's going to tell me when, and I'm going to pull a number.
Now.
All right. The number is, Thrace, also known in Spanish as Thrace. Okay. Because it's the same thing, that's what it means. All right. Our topic today is school versus education.
Whoa.
All right. Let's see. The education system is often criticized for conditioning students rather than fostering critical thinking. Are schools truly preparing us for life, or are they more focused on creating compliant workers? As always, I throw it to my guest first. What are your thoughts on that, Teddy?
Well, I would say this topic is so hot and so good. I think the latter. I think it's a conditioning mechanism, and I get that via common sense, and also via just traveling different parts of the world and seeing different cultures and different approaches. And I think the blaring elephant in the room with education is that it's serving somebody's idea of society. Like, our society is not like, this is it, like, this is what we came up with, like, here it is, like a patch of blueberry bushes, like, this is how it formed. It's very directed, and it's very specific to one perspective and outcome. So yeah, I'm on the side of the latter side, that it's conditioning.
It's conditioning, and it's not focused on creating critical thinking. There's a really interesting statistic out there, about like where people drop out of school and they become successful. Everyone from, Robert Downey Jr. to myself to even wealthy people. Steve Jobs was world renowned for dropping out of college. So, schooling itself doesn't actually dictate success because, again, you need that motivation, but you also need to be able to find solutions by thinking outside the box in a proactive way. So I'm someone who definitely agrees that education should be about bestilling certain skill sets that allow us to use critical thinking instead of, all right, let's just did you memorize this stuff? All right, now you got to take this. Oh, the bell rang. You got to leave. All right, now you go. If you're late to the next class, you're going to get detention. Okay, wait, you missed 3 days. You get penalized for that. And it's like, some of the greatest thinkers of our time used to sleep every 45 minutes and take naps. Benjamin Franklin created, or even Thomas Edison. They created these things, though Thomas Edison may have stolen a few ideas. But the point is, great thinkers aren't always set to structure. Everybody has a different I feel people have different learning processes. They have different motivational elements about them. Certain things will allow them to be more productive than others. In fact, we've learned that with COVID. When COVID happened, we all jumped home. We were starting to work remotely, and people were becoming more efficient because they were in their environment, right? Some people didn't, but there was an element, a statistic of more efficiency. So what are your thoughts on that, Mr. Teddy?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think the first thing you said that I want to kind of jump in with is mistakes. Is that mistakes are kind of like the food for each person, kind of understanding their own skill set and their own method. Um, and whether I mean, you're a musician. I mean, mistakes are the road to no mistakes. And I think the school system, it kind of demonize mistakes, where it's like, we don't do mistakes, get it right. And then it leads me to the next point, which is it's fear-based. And fear-based, like you said, the bell rang, now get there, you're gonna get detention, this is gonna happen. And the whole entire thing is happening under this state of duress, where it's like I'm gonna be in existential trouble if I don't get with this. And it's very confusing because everybody's in on it. As a student, I mean, you're looking around, it's like there's very few places to come up for air and have somebody that's, especially when we were kids, conscious enough to say, like, listen, this isn't really the whole thing. And
There's more out there.
and it causes, I can speak for myself. It causes the student to kind of wrap their personality and their idea of self around how they can morph to appease this thing that's necessarily taking somebody who wants to be a potter, and telling them that if they don't, I don't know, swing the tennis racket the best in gym class, that there's something's going to happen to them. And it offers, I think, a very narrow spectrum of what can be, and it tries to represent what is with a very narrow line, rather than kind of saying, like, listen, once you get out there, it's anyone's game. And then the other thing I thought that you said that gave a little blossom was Edison and Tesla and all those guys. They used to do weird things, like they would sleep, they would take a nap, like we said, and they would put like a coin on their knee or their elbow, and basically they would let themselves fall into
The
theta brainwave, right? They wouldn't fully go. And then when the coin hit the ground, it would wake them up, and they would write whatever was going on.
Okay, yeah.
That's awesome. I just think that there's infinite ways for life to manifest, and it's just so bizarre that we're just locked. I mean, it's not going to be forever, but yeah, because the wrong way teaches the right way. But yeah.
Well, yeah, even music, sometimes, jazzy and innovative is a real term, because that's what happens. Sometimes you play around the notes, you play around the scales, you play around the feel. It's not uncommon for musicians to discover something because they messed up. When we were playing live, you went to that one note, but it really sounded good. Like, let's explore where that goes. Or, someone forgot to come in, or there was a time I was playing a song, and it was supposed to be everybody stopped, and then like only one instrument would do a thing, but the wrong instrument kept going, and all the instruments stopped, but that wrong instrument kept going. And I was like, oh, it sounds better with that instrument going, and then like how everybody came in, I was like, oh, that worked. And so it was like a happy accident, and I think life is that way too. And that's how we kind of discover who we are, what we're capable of. We fear mistakes. We're taught to fear that mistake in school. You got 5 wrong. You got 5 wrong on the test. That's bad. You're gonna fail. And now we have to leave you back. And it's like, well, what did I learn because of the failure? Not to fail? Because I don't think that's as helpful. And that's why I'm kind of okay with the participation trophies. But I still think we should recognize first, second, third. Hard work should be rewarded, but at the same time, just because you didn't come in first doesn't mean you're less than. There definitely has to be some sort of the lesson is, look, we're playing for fun, but if you work hard, you can win. But just because you didn't win doesn't mean you get recognized for, you still did something. One of the big things, especially when I started teaching, we were just talking about this before the shows. Before I started teaching and everything like that, I go, people were like, "Oh, I suck at writing," and I go, "No, you don't suck at writing." Yeah, but I can't write anything. I like you just started. You can't say you're bad at. It's like riding a bike and going, I'm bad at riding a bike. No, if you've been riding a bike for 30 years, okay, and you still can't keep yourself up on the bike, you suck at riding bikes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
if you're in the process of learning and developing skills, you don't have anything to gauge on. You can't suck yet. And more importantly, writing is the hardest. Well, all creative arts, I think, are so hard that just being able to do it is a victory. Just being able to write a bad sentence is more powerful than writing nothing. And people are like, oh, it's a bad sentence. Oh, my prose, they're terrible. And it's like, you just did something people are scared to even try. Right. And I think school takes that away, takes that, oh, it has to be perfect. Right. Like when I deal with writing clients, sometimes or if I'm giving advice to people, the big thing I hear is like, yeah, but if my first draft isn't great, then I feel like I didn't do well, or I think I suck. And it's like, but your first draft is not your last draft. It's your throw up draft. It's you're exploring and discovering. Every great writer is a rewriter. And I feel school implements this, like, if you don't do well now and you fail, you get left back. So you have to be great or you suck. And I always hated that about school.
Yeah, it for me too. It instills this level of annihilation is on the other side of failure. It's like this emotional societal guillotine is right there, and you're gonna get it. Oh, you don't want to get left back, do you? Oh, it's a psychological minefield out there.
Yep.
And then when you were talking about oh, it's my first draft, oh, I'm not good, like that is just a direct symptom of those kind of fear-based installations that come into a kid who has no leg to stand on in the way of self-advocation or even any other life experience with which to contextually grab from to offer to the educational assailant, as I'll call them. And something else you said too, with music and the band and all that going through, is that it's I think it's a human thing. Honestly, it's like humans are like kind of like cockle in the head a little bit, but trying to take this creative process of life and making it formulaic. Here's how you produce that, and then that. It's formulaic. But when we know and we witness that life is happening in all these random accidents and beautiful things, and you get this idea and you go, what the hell would happen if I did this? Or the whole band is supposed to drop out and the bass player is like still going, and you're like, yo, that was genius. And he's like, what? And it's like, that's the story. I was in this band, and that was the dynamic. Was the bass player was playing whatever all the time, and the guitar player was always having these like mental explosions because this guy would just, like Elmer Fudd, walk us into these amazing feelings.
Yeah.
And then the whole band practice was trying to get him to remember what he just did. And
that's funny.
And I can remember that too as a kid. Like, why did I for everybody out there, I've done a lot of healing work, and I've done a lot of work with different plant medicines, and in my explorations inside, I realized, like, in third grade, I did not get the good grades because I cared about spelling or how, like, my letter A looked in cursive class. I wanted my mom's love, and I didn't want to get rejected. And I think that's terrible fuel for learning. I think it's just terrible. Like, it's like putting Coca-Cola in the gas tank.
Yeah.
And I think that, having exposure to the arts, such as you and I, Thomas, have, you have this sense of being able to kind of witness things create. Like, you're kind of like, whoa, this is like happening. Like, I'm not producing this. Like, I'm kind of like somehow like a pawn in this.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and it's always surprising. And then just the last thing was too, and it kind of goes with what I just said, is that the school systems too kind of like sell this idea of arriving, right? Like, you're going to do this, you're going to listen to me, you're going to do this, blah, 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 and then you're going to arrive. And it's like, that's not true. And then you're going to be there, trust me. And nobody's there. It's a complete horse potato. It's complete nothing. And I think there's a responsibility of the adults now that are aware of that, to call it like it is. We don't have to go with torches through the streets, after, burning books. But I think it is what it is, and we see it, and it's, it can be a menu option, but I'm not buying it.
Well, like what you were just saying, when we went to school, we were at an age where we'd always have to hear, you're not always going to have a calculator with you. And
right.
lo and behold, and a very funny thing that happened to me in fourth grade. I have dyslexia, but it wasn't really a thing when I was in school. They didn't understand dyslexia. Like, people could see letters and words mixed up, right? And I was writing something, and I asked the teacher, how do you spell teacher? Because I was writing something about, and she goes, look it up. And I go, well, how? And she goes, just sound it out. I go, I understand, but it's not making sense in my head. Like, teacher, T, is it 2 E's? Right? Because it's like T, like, right. How is it? Like,
right. Questions.
Yeah, I have questions.
Yeah.
So she spells it for me. I was like, oh, thanks. And then I went and sat down, and then like I got to like page 2, and I was like, oh, how do you spell teacher again? And she goes, I just told you how to spell it, right? Then later on in that year, she was going, what do you want to do for your careers? And she went, oh, fireman, doctor, police officer, fireman, like kids, how kids are. They all want to be doctors and firemen. And I said, oh, I want to be a writer. And she goes, if I were you, I would look into trades. Right. And then after class, I was like, why did you say that to me? And she goes, well, because you can't spell. You're not good. You're not good at spelling. And you have trouble remembering words and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but don't they have editors for that? She's like, no, you have to be able to write to be a writer. And the one thing you learn as a writer is, no, you don't. They have line editors, copy editors, and developmental editors. The whole point of a writer is not only words. It's the structure, it's outline, it's arcs, it's emotional truths, it's character, it's making dialogue sound deeper than the surface value. It's about subtext. It's about exploring themes. There's so much more to writing than so what if I spell teacher wrong now? Not that I do, because, obviously I've learned how to work around my dyslexia, because there's spell check, like, it's just, right. So it's always weird how teachers discourage sometimes. And though I had some teachers that were like, I had one teacher say, look, don't worry about kids making fun of you, because A, you'll never see them again after you graduate. And B, if you do, it's because they'll be working for you one day. Like, you're smarter than them.
Oh, I like that teacher.
And I was like, yeah, all right, great. Mr. Rini, he was a very good teacher, but I agree with that. Like, we were put, like, one of the things teachers would say as pressure is like, you don't want to get left back, and then your friends are ahead of you. And it's like, no, I'm not going to see them. I have the only friends I have from high school or junior high or third or fourth grade are my family members that I went to school with. Like, I'm not close with any. I still know them because Facebook exists, but that's the only reason I see their name occasionally. We don't hang out. We don't have conversations. We don't, like, yet they would instill this kind of fear, like you were saying. Oh, they're going to be ahead of you. You don't want to be left behind. And it's like, I don't care. The other thing I wanted to say was, when it comes to even going back to the first draft mentality, where it's like, oh, it has to be good. As we develop, we should always still be developing. So if we could get rid of that fear of the creative journey, where it's like, it doesn't have to be great, it'd be crap. Is that, like, bad doesn't mean you suck, but at the same time, good doesn't mean you're great. And you should always still be exploring. And what you could do yesterday is not what you're going to be able to do tomorrow. You should always be getting better and better and better. And to think, like, one of the things I can't stand when artists, especially in art, are in in the film industry and stuff like that, they're just like, oh, this is my best film, but you did 4 others, but this one's better than them. All right, so what you're saying is, do not go watch those because
Right.
you don't even have confidence in them, because this is where you actually learned how to be a filmmaker. So now this is the one you want me, right? They're all beautiful pieces of work. Who cares how good this one is compared to that one? Like, they all have their place in life,
Yeah, it's like an assumption that person is saying you'll like this one the best, but it's like, hang on, like I might like it. You don't know what I might like, so like it's all beautiful.
Yeah. Why degrade yourself? Oh, well, no. Look, this book I wrote, this is my best book ever. Oh, so what happened to the last 6 you wrote? Well, they were good, but this one, I got my voice. You know.
You know, I really love what you were saying, and you know, I think there's kind of like this. If you're paying attention, there's this dead giveaway that the education system is. It's kind of in plain sight. Is that it's kind of like we have it and you don't, right? It's like with the teacher saying, "Oh, you should probably do this. You should probably do that." I think thinking that you know the totality of something, or that you've arrived at some place of completion, is like also barfing like I'm unconscious, because I think any smart teacher that's working with a being would leave room for the possibility that this person may be innovating and teaching me something. I think the earmark of an amazing teacher is to be able to oscillate between teacher teachable, both sides of the spectrum. You're not just like, I am the czar of spelling, and it's like it's so arrogant, and sometimes I wonder, Thomas, like how is this in place in our society? And the only thing I've really able to settle on is natural selection, in a way, like almost like you've all seen that antelope like at the water's edge and the crocodile's right there, and you're like, it's not a log, watch out. It's like snap, and you're like, oh, I guess he deserved it. That's the only thing I can really try to rationalize everything that's happening. But yeah, I mean, I'll say, teaching music, there's been so many times I have been sitting in front of a kid on guitar, and he's been like, I'm going to hold my guitar pick like this.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, and it's like, and you have that briefly, like, it's like, here's what the book says, but like, you know what, like, just let him hold the guitar pick. Like, what is it going to do? What is it going to do to me? And all of a sudden I watch him develop, and that's how he does it. And it's like, it comes down to it's a darkness, and it's a possession. It's a want to possess, and I'm saying that from the instillers of this type of system, it's a want to possess, like the concept of growth or something. It's like this desire to gatekeep on, like, you're not gonna fruit unless you fruit through me, and it's like, get the hell out of here.
Potential, unless like your potential is what I say it is.
Yeah, like, you're gonna have my diploma. It's like, get out of here. Like, that's not real. Like, it's
all fake.
Yeah, like this whole thing is growing everybody equally. Like, get out of town with that.
Like, something I tell people all the time. I go, look, college is only for people that want a job where you need a certificate. No one goes to college for education. They don't, because they're going there to get education on a very specific thing so they can get that degree. Otherwise, they would just pursue the thing. And that's like, and I know, in the entertainment industry, you don't have to go to college to get a degree in filmmaking. or whatever the case is, or even acting. Like, imagine going to college, spending $40,000 or $60,000 to be told you are now an actor because of the certificate. Meanwhile, you could just kind of get into the industry by starting at the bottom and learning the industry, and you would learn more, including building relationships with people going from the bottom to the top. And that means that would say you or I are not allowed to have ever had careers in the entertainment industry because we didn't go to college and get that very specific degree for that very specific thing. You know, and that's not how it works. Like,
no rats allowed.
Yeah, no rats. You must learn this thing. And if you know, but like, if you're going to be a doctor, you can't just practice legally and to be a doctor. But just because you didn't get the degree doesn't mean you can't be a doctor in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still might have the skills and qualifications to be a doctor, but just because you don't have that degree, you just can't do it legally. So they go to school to be educated to get that degree. But that doesn't mean you can't learn, because you could go to college and not get a degree. I don't know if you know that. Like, you don't have to pay to go to college. You just go to the classes. You can sit in on classes and learn.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to go with my brother all the time when he was in college. I would just sit in the class and learn. And I was young too. I wasn't even old enough to be there, you know, like, because you got to be a certain age to go to college. Plus, you have to have a high school diploma, and I didn't have one, right? Because my brother's much older than I am. But the thing is, they don't help you, and you don't get to do the homework. But you can say, "Oh, what is the homework?" And then we're like, "Oh, I'll go buy the book, and then I'll just do the homework, and then I'll sit in class and listen to like whatever, you know." But at the same time, you don't need to go to college to be certain things. You need to go to college to get that certificate, you know. And when you hear some of these degrees people are going after, and then you're just like, you just made that degree up. And then you're wondering why you're not getting jobs. No one hires that thing. That's why philosophy is the funniest degree you can get. You know, it's a great skill, a great tool, but like, you're not getting a job as a, you know, doing anything of note unless it's a think tank, you know? So
yeah, I think like, we've everyone listening has probably heard this, but the word educate means to bring forth from that which is within, right? But that's not what's happening. What's happening is like a super brilliant business model where somehow somebody has convinced everybody that we have it over here and you got to come to us and you can't get it anywhere else. But if you ask, well, where did they get it from? You could be free. And I always respect that super business model that we've got what you need. We've got the education. Come on over here, and you're going to get what we say, and then we're going to let you in.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but it's only we'll only teach you if you play by our rules. And here's a really crazy example. When I was living in New York, okay, health class was just starting to be a thing. So they started teaching it in gym class. So every other day it would be gym, and then it would be gym with health education. And I passed the tests. I read the book, everything. The following year, I literally moved to Florida, and I go to Barron Collar. And in Barron Collar, they had a health class. I sit down. They told me I had to take it because I didn't have the credit, even though I had taken and gotten a credit in New York. They handed me the exact same book. And I instantly was like, oh, I've already taken this class. I passed this. And they're like, no. So then I just refused to do anything. So I wouldn't read the book because I have a photographic memory. And I was like, I don't care about anything here. I'm just going to come to class because I have to be here. And then when the tests would come, I'd get A's. And the teacher sent me to the principal saying that I was cheating because she never saw me read the book. I never took the book home. All this. I was like, because I already took this. It's already in my head. It's ingrained in my head.
I have the file.
I have the file. So while I was in the principal's office, I had to take a test for a health class, and I passed with an A+. And she told me she failed me on the test. And I was like, why'd you fail me? I got them all right. She goes, because you were cheating. And the principal's like, No, he was in my because the way the office was set, you could see like everybody. He goes, he was sitting there with just the paper and the pencil. He had no book bag near him. There was no book near him. He wasn't cheating. And she's like, well, how does he know it? And I go, because I took the class. Like, it's just, that's what I don't understand about school, is that they don't listen. They're just, this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to do it. And if you don't follow our way, what's a really funny story? Oh, another Florida school. I was in school and I was sitting there talking in art class, and I had taken every art class you could think of already at this point. But when I went to this school, right, they said I had none of the credits were considered taken. That's the problem with moving. If you keep moving to different districts or different states, Anyway, so I was sitting there and I just gave up at that point. I was 17 and I was just like, I'm done with school. Like, they keep taking away my credits. They keep, why? I'm not going to just keep doing things. Whatever they need me to do, I don't care. All right. Anyway, so I'm sitting in art class. I'm talking to a guy and I go, this girl. And I said, do you think God created beavers to dam rivers? Right. And I got in school detention because they said I said, God damn it. Right? Because the word God and damn was in it. They're not even the same spelling. So then while I was in the in-school detention, okay, they give you a piece of paper. It says, what is your name? Thomas Bellezza. And they go, why are you here? And I said, oh, well, there was a girl in class. And I said to her, you think God created beavers to dam the river? I got in-school detention a second day in a row because I had wrote blasphemy on the page. I had the word God and the word damn. Again, not spelled the same. So then the next day, the second day I was there, I refused to fill out the paperwork. And they said, you have to. And I was like, if I fill out the paperwork, it's going to say I am in school detention because I wrote down on the piece of paper the explanation to the original thing, which was that I said, do you think God created the river? And as I was explaining it, I got suspended. As I was talking.
Meatheads.
Yeah, they suspended me because I said God, and it was blasphemy. So then I went to summer school because I couldn't finish school because I got suspended. And by the time I would come back, I wouldn't be able to. So in summer school, they're like, hey, everyone, this is a creative writing element. Write your stuff. So I wrote about a wizard. And they threw me out of summer school and called my dad and said that I was writing about the devil worshiping and that I'm a satanic worshiper because it was right. And I did, first of all, this is the only time I really flipped out in the sense of school, but I destroyed the entire principal's office. I threw everything off the table. I flipped the table. I started throwing everything off the walls, like throwing the chairs. They had to restrain me until my father got there. And my father walked in and he was like, he wasn't sure if he should be mad or not because, he did know that like I was frustrated with how school was treating me. And he goes, what happened? And the principal goes, your son destroyed the office. And he goes, but why? And he goes, well, because your son has a behavioral problem. It was the first time I had ever exploded. Because me, I'm very passive. But,
right.
Everything, I had gotten all my credits taken away when I went to this school. And then they kicked me out of school. And then summer school kicked me out for ridiculous reasons. And my father's like, no. Why is he getting kicked out of school? Because he destroyed the thing? And they go, no, because your son is continuing his blasphemy of God. And he's a devil worshiper because he was writing about magic. And magic is evil. And my father was like, yeah. All right, come on, Tom. I'm walking down. I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do anymore. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? I go, I want to quit. I don't want to be in school anymore. And he's like, all right. So that was it. I dropped out of school. And then my entire life went up. I started in the music industry. I did that for 10 years. I haven't worked a job since 2005, So it's like, if I had stayed in school, I don't know where I would be right now because I had literally had a breakdown because it was just so devolving, like there was nothing powerful about my school experience where I could say school is educational.
Wow, that's a powerful story. You know, what came to mind during that was like how detention is kind of like a mini preview to jail, where you're kind of losing your freedom a little bit. You know, like, we're going to confine you.
Yeah.
Here you go. And what does that have to do with bringing out your best self? You know, like, how is capturing somebody and punishing them have anything to do with helping them develop who they are? How is that even together? And it's only a symptom of control. And you know, you wonder what goes on through the hive mind of this, and the only real place to land on is that it is what I'm about to say does not exist in the hive mind is an interest in innovation. It seems like it's just a gigantic formulaic regurgitative exercise to just keep. Listen, we got to keep making these Oreo cookies. Make them all the same. Everything the same. Everyone's going to be the same. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to think the same way. They're going to be afraid of the same thing. That's why when we sound the detention horn, everyone will shit because they're all worried. And I mean, it exists, and it's kind of tragic. You know, I had an interesting experience in the film biz. I don't know. About the time I was working on a movie called The Comedian. Taylor Hackford was the director. Robert De Niro was in it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were in it. And I was assistant director on that, and really bonding with the director. And I told him right in the beginning of the movie, I said, "Sir," I said, "I don't care about who got the right bagel with the right shit on it, or who, you know," I said, "I'm here for the movie. I'm here with you 100%. And I've created a system to supplement that." And he was like, "All right, kid, let's go."
Yeah.
And I would ask him about directing all the time because I wanted to be a director. I was an assistant director climbing some type of ladder. Okay. Right. So the idea here is that we get sold the ladder a lot, yep. Right? Like, get on the ladder and then you can arrive. And pay us.
Do that. You got to get your points.
Yeah, and pay us, and on time.
On time, yep.
Or you'll be excluded. And I asked him, you know, how'd you be a director? And his answer was the same as every other director that I had ever talked to, before then and after then, was I just started doing it.
Yep.
And I mean, my eyeballs like fell out of my head. I put them back in. I was like, "What'd you say?" And he said, "Yeah, I just started making stuff, and I got good at making what I liked to make. And that's how I caught the eyes of those who were looking for people who knew how to make stuff." And it's like to become an expert in your field, do you really need anybody? You know, whether you're carving, you know, little reliefs of chipmunks with, you know, white ash wood and a little chisel, or playing piano, or writing a song, or poems, or whatever. You know, I know that some levels there are needs. You know, whether, you know, if you're gonna, I don't know, maybe be like a crane operator, maybe show me what that button does. So, you know, but you know, for the most part. Yeah, I found that to be startling, but also a very kind of electrified inlet into my own curiosity, and kind of settling into how to teach myself and work with mistakes and work with the frustration of, I'm trying to get this out, but it's just not coming. What do you know? And then seeking the kind of guidance that I might need. I mean, I think you and I are totally saying here in this conversation that this is not an attack on guidance. This is about honoring guidance in the way that guidance sometimes needs to not always be an offensive, pushy, but sometimes neutral, and sometimes listening. You know?
Yeah, there's terminology that needs to be understood, but at the same, how you approach that's the variable. You know, you've known me a long time, and I'm always helping people, and I also teach people how to be successful, and you know, all these other things. And the one thing that I always say that usually blows their mind is I don't tell them how to exactly do it. I say, these are the things you need to be working on, which is network market practice, which is managing your time, money, and people, which is thinking outside the box in a proactive way, which is utilizing your talent to involve certain value sets that add to the tables you join so you can best lead, follow, or advise when available. And then I talk about money and like how to create like wealth and assets. But when I say network, I don't go, this is the only way you can network. I go, you need to network. You need relationships. Networks are about the people you know. Marketing is about the people who remember you. And then practice is about understanding and knowing yourself so you can develop your weaknesses and enhance your strengths. And those things will make you a value when you join tables. But some people are like, yeah, but what's the exact path? And I go, look, are you comfortable talking to people? No. Well, how do you talk to people? Well, I'm comfortable texting. So that's your networking avenue. Well, I don't want to go out every night. I like being home. All right. It's going to be a little harder, but you have to interact with people on social media a little bit more. You have to support their endeavors. Like there's always a way to network, but whatever works for you is the right way. And if you're going to guide somebody by teaching them, right, you have to find what works for them. You have to allow their process, but that doesn't mean their terminology is the right terminology. Like for example, if I'm teaching you how to record and I go, all right, we're going to double the guitars. And then they go, oh, isn't that quadding? And I go, why do you think it's quadding? And I go, well, because you took the first guitar and did it twice. And then you took the second guitar and did it twice. The first guitar is rhythm and it is doing a very specific thing. The second guitar is lead, melodies, and counter rhythms or positions to the first guitar. So it is a second new guitar. They are both being doubled. Quadding means to do the same guitar 4 times. And then if they continue to believe that no, 4 guitar recordings is quadding, then you just accept that and move on. And you don't work. You can't teach that person because now you're not working on teaching anymore. You're working on literally miscommunication. But when it comes to how they record, they could do whatever they want. So if they're like, well, I would rather quad. Well, there's nothing wrong with quadding your guitars. But when it comes to terminology, you still have to be able to communicate with people in your field. I think that's important. You know, like you're a first AD, right? So there are probably certain terms that are inherent to you now being in the industry. Whereas if you heard them when you first started, you'd be like, what do you mean? And they'd be like, oh, it's a bathroom break. That means bathroom break, you know, but it's just the code, right? But imagine you're like, no, bathroom break is going to be in the bucket. But now you have this history of a system where everybody who's in the industry knows what a bathroom break is.
Right.
And for you to be like, no, it's going to be in the bucket. Like now that has nothing to do with guiding. This is like, look, no one's going to understand you. And it's going to be harder to reteach the industry that you want a bathroom break to be in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one term is called MOS, which means that we're not going to have sound. Mm-hmm. And it's just the camera, but no sound. Like I can't just call it like, you know, hey, we're going to do hushy. Okay. This is hushy, you know, like maybe somebody gets it, but yeah, like I think those things are imperative to have a language, because that's just the flow of a concept, yeah, which is able to be built upon. You know, one thing that was coming up while you were talking was like, it feels like this to me. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm probably crazy. Is that there's a huge spectrum of types of people coming into this system, right? It's like, how can I say it? Okay, this is my analogy. It's like the diner menu only has like 300 items on it, right?
Yeah.
But like what's available to be on the diner could be like 300,000 things that you could eat potentially, right?
Yeah, because you do the ingredients, altering things.
I feel like that's what's going on with education. It's like there's 3,000 million billion strong types of people that are coming at the world that could do all different things. and they kind of get like whacked down into this menu where it's like, are you going to be a construction worker or a librarian? Like there's an or. Like they're like giving you this illusion of or this or that, but that's like where you gotta like bam, like that's where you gotta hit it, is that there's no or that exists. And it almost feels like you could have, remember those old school, you'd see them like late at night, those infomercials for the change sorter. You drop it in the top and it's like, and it would do the rolls because we had to go to the bank and give them the rolls. Before the machine, you just dump it all in. If you had to actually like count it and roll it. I feel like society would benefit from that kind of like if you need like an interim, so if society needs to accost us at the beginning stages of our life, maybe it could be as a change sorter, and be like, okay, what's this guy doing? Oh, okay, he's like a sport guy. Oh, this guy, oh, he's a cook. Oh, this guy, and then give it to the people that can then help them develop it. Like I don't want to throw out the whole thing. I'm trying to salvage something of it, but yeah, I think I've been, in my time on Earth, that's been a takeaway, is that we're capable of a lot more than what's happening. And I think it's the school. I mean, have you ever have you ever looked into like Montessori or Waldorf or any of these other? Did you go to Montessori or anything?
No.
Or yeah, I mean, it's like a have you ever heard of Waldorf schooling?
No.
Waldorf schooling is, and forgive me, I'm going to make a mistake describing this. I'll do my best. Is a type of schooling proposed by this guy Rudolf Steiner, who was like a very, very interesting being. If you're interested in what I'm saying, he was the creator of something called biodynamic farming, which is basically like using the farm to just keep pumping out the things. I took a biodynamic farming class, and like one of the things that we did was we took chamomile tea, right? And we took it and we put it into the intestines of a cow, right?
Alive or dead?
Dead. And into like a tube, tied it up, and then put that inside of a skull, and then buried it in the mud for the season. And then when it comes out, like it's all this crazy science. Like his mind believes that the hoof of a cow is absorbing more energy. Like he sees all the animals as tools.
What is it called? Footing or
something
like that. Yeah.
Something. But all I'm saying is that there are different places where kids can go and learn, and they don't even introduce a book or reading or writing until they're like 7 or 8. They're just left in Wonderland, and they learn you can get sap from this tree but not that tree, and you can do this but not, and it's I want to be very important to say that I'm not saying one is more right than the other, because that's like not possible. But for people that anyone's listening, that they're, it is, even though the education wants us to feel headlocked, like, and you got to come to us, like you got to have that 25-cent chocolate milk. Yep. No, you don't. And your kids can go to places that are much more imaginative and beautiful, and they're out there.
Yeah. Plus, also, you don't want your parents to go to jail because you didn't go to school, and the truant officer comes.
Right, more fear. Right, they got everybody. Yeah. They got everybody in it.
Yeah. Nowadays, though, it's parents want the kid to go to school so they can go to work.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But listen, Teddy, we've been doing this for 50 minutes almost. Do you have a quick final say on just real quick? School versus education. Your stance? What's your stance? What's your final word?
Be yourself and defy the odds, and there's only one you, so be it hard. And
I agree with Teddy. Always play with yourself. And did I misconstrue that?
A little, but not. It's legal.
It is legal. It's legal. Kids aren't listening because they're not allowed to. They're in school detention. Teddy, is there any way people can find you unless you're trying to hide from everyone?
Yeah, I have an Instagram account. I've kind of left it alone for a while, but it's at Theodore_Gibbons. You know, that just has my journeys, maybe some new journeys.
New journeys. And for anyone who's listening and not watching the YouTube channel, you should be watching the YouTube channel. Theodore is Theodore, and of course Gibbons is Gibbons. And if I was going to say that in Spanish, it would sound different. All right, so no habla español. No,
See,
you speak español, right?
I know enough to be dangerous.
You know, lo siento, yo no sé, no habla español, por favor.
I am sorry.
Listen, Teddy, thank you so very much for being on From the Hat.
Thank you so much. I had a fun time, and I like the topic that we got, and I want to listen more now because I think these are great and they're really interesting. And thanks a lot.
Anytime. And for everyone listening out there, I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. This is From the Hat, and we are talking by choice, chosen by random. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.